up your engine! Now, it would be nice if everyone could afford this $54,000 brand new Tundra 4-wheel drive. But come on, a lot of people don't have $54,000. So today, I'm going to show you good, cheap trucks you can buy. Now, what you want with a good used truck is dependability and price. Now, of course, you can't beat Toyotas for dependability, but try to find a cheap used one. It's almost impossible. So if you can find a Toyota that's cheap and in good shape, hey, go ahead and buy it. Go right out and buy it. But it's hard to do. So I'm going to tell you some trucks that are decent used trucks you can get at a good price. And the first one is the Nissan Frontier. Now, they've been making Nissan Frontiers since 1997, but of course Nissan was making pickup trucks long before that, just like the Toyota Tacoma. They made trucks long before the Tacoma. They were just Toyota pickup trucks. It's just a long history, and the Frontiers are decent little trucks. A lot of things people say negative about the Frontiers are, oh, it's a dated design, the style, blah, 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 blah. It's a pickup truck. They all look pretty much the same. They got a bed. They got 4 wheels. Yeah, the fronts look different, but it's a pickup truck. Who cares what it looks like? You're looking for a good, cheap, dependable work truck. Nissan Frontier can be a good choice because you can get them pretty cheap. And like any pickup truck, they're better standard. There's less things to go wrong. You can haul stuff more. You won't get stuck because you can play with the gears. But even with an automatic transmission, the Frontiers had a decent automatic transmission, even though made by Jatco. But all these pickup trucks are rear-wheel drive, and those ones are okay. It's the front-wheel drive Jatcos that are the crappers, and the pickup trucks are all rear-wheel drive, so you don't have to worry about that. Just like everything else, the Frontier started small, now they're bigger. You know, originally they were like compact pickup trucks. Right now you look at them, they're getting huge. The Toyota Tacoma, it's getting huge too. It's not really a small truck anymore. It used to be. I kind of liked them when they were small trucks. But if you can find a Nissan Frontier that's in decent shape, hey, you can often get a good deal. They can last a long time. They're not bad trucks. Now, the next cheap used truck you can get that could last is a Ford Ranger. Ford's been making Rangers a long time. Now, getting a used Ranger, you can save a lot of money. Let's take the opposite perspective. If you bought a brand new Ranger today, they start at $24,000. The Tacoma start at $26,000. I'd say definitely get the Tacoma. $2,000 more, you're getting a much better vehicle. But you can find 8-10-year-old Rangers dirt cheap. You'll never find a dirt cheap Tacoma. I had a customer just buy a Ranger. They bought a used one for $1,500 at 110,000 miles. They love it. It's a dependable little car. It's got a few dents here and there. They said, Scotty, we were trying to find a Tacoma, but all the ones we are looking at, so we're at least $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 of the same age. So I paid, a lot less, only $1,500, and it's not a bad vehicle. Parts are readily available and cheaply enough for Rangers. They've been making them a long time. People know how to work on them. They're Fords. They're not bad vehicles. Now, of course, if you look at the sales lately, the Tacomas sell 10 times more than the Rangers sell. They sell an awful lot of them. Take these Tundras. They're excellent trucks. But in 2019, Toyota sold about 119,000 of these in the United States. Ford, their F-150 series, they sold over 900,000. They're not really competing with the F-150. It's a different ball game. And with the Rangers versus the Tacomas, yeah, the Tacomas are much better vehicles. But the Rangers used, you can get them a lot cheaper. And if you're looking for a good cheap work truck, you're going to throw crap in the back. You don't care if it's bashed in, as long as it runs and gets you where you're going. There's nothing wrong with a Ford Ranger. Now, if you don't need that much pulling power, get the 4-cylinder engines. They tend to last the longest and, of course, get the better gas mileage. But if you're going to tow stuff, you really have to get the V6 engine to get more power if you're going to plan on towing things. But let's face it, if you want a cheap work truck, don't plan on doing all that much towing. You can wear the engine, transmission, and rear differential a lot faster that way. It's an old cheap truck. Treat it as an old cheap truck. Don't think you can buy it, get in it, and drive 100,000 trouble-free miles. You're getting a cheap work truck, so you get what you pay for. Just make sure you don't get ripped off and buy the wrong truck. I've had many customers in the last decades buy used Rangers and be happy enough with them. Yeah, it's hot and humid here in Houston. Sometimes the AC breaks and they find out, well, I don't want to put $1,000 fixing the AC. They just roll the windows down. So, hey, if the AC doesn't work, you pay a lot less. You say, oh, it's hot and humid. I don't want something with no working AC. Then they'll say, well, what will you offer me? And you offer them a lot less and see if they'll sell it to you. Now, of course, if you're looking for a bigger used truck, there's a billion F-150s out out there. Hey, I mean, like 2019, they sold 900,000 of them. There's a lot of used ones around. I had a customer just buy a used one for 2,500 bucks. It had 120,000 miles, still shifted good. The AC still worked. The engine didn't burn oil. It's a decent work truck. You get them with higher mileage and older, you can pay less for them. Just decide, do you really need a big V8 truck or could you get a smaller truck? You got to make that decision on what you want to buy. If you want a bigger truck, get an F-150. There's lots of used ones out there. Just make sure you have a mechanic like me to check it out because they could have problems here and there when they're a big truck, has a lot of heavy duty work done with them. They could be all worn out. But if you have it checked out and the mechanic says it isn't, get a good deal on an old F-150 if you look around. But when it comes to larger used trucks, take my advice. Try to stay away from four-wheel drive versions. It's a lot of stuff that can and will break down as time goes on. Conventional truck with the rear-wheel drive, they're great handy vehicles. You start adding four-wheel drive, you're getting into expensive repairs as they age. And if you're getting an old cheap one, something goes wrong with the four-wheel drive system and you can't drive it anymore. Now the next good work truck would be a Chevy Silverado. But I'm talking about the old 1500 Silverados. Anything from 2002 back. I had a customer just buy a 2001 for 2,500 bucks. It worked fine. Back in the day, GM did make decent vehicles. 2001, they didn't have problems with the differentials like they do with the modern ones, where the differentials are made in Mexico, a lot of them, and they don't make them right. They don't put them together correctly, so they wear out too fast. You find an old one, could be a good vehicle. Heck, I had a customer get a 30-year-old one for $4,000, but it only had 45,000 original miles and he loves it. Now another decent used pickup truck can be a Mazda pickup truck. Now you can't buy new Mazda pickup trucks. They're not selling in the United States. They have diesel engines. They're selling all over the world. And they're pretty good pickup trucks. But the old Mazda pickup trucks, a lot of them were actually like Ford Rangers, and they can be decent trucks. The Mazda B series that they made for ages, like I say, some of them are basically just Ford Rangers. They're not bad pickup trucks. I've had customers pick them up for a song and a dance. Since they're mainly Fords, you can get parts for them relatively easily, and they're decent little knock-around pickup trucks. And you can pick up a 20-year-old or older one for a song and a dance. They can still have quite a bit of life left in them. It's not their market in the United States anymore, but they used to sell a lot of those little bitty pickup trucks, and there was nothing wrong with them. They weren't the greatest trucks, you know, they didn't haul the most, but dependable truck if they're still running good. There's nothing wrong with buying an old B-Series Mazda. Now my next pick for cheap pickup trucks, Mitsubishi. Now, they don't sell pickup trucks in the United States anymore either, but the old Mitsubishi Mighty Max, it was a little truck, but it could go forever. I had customers get 300,000-400,000 miles out of them, and they were decent pickup trucks. The Mitsubishi trucks were small, but if you want a small truck, they could run a really long time. Kind of similar to a Zuzu. They sold some small pickup trucks. If you remember the Chevy Love, that was really a Zuzu rebadged as a Chevy, and they weren't bad trucks. Heck, my uncle bought one of those Chevy Love Zuzu pickup trucks, and it outlasted him. He conked out, and his truck was still going. But the problem with the Zuzu is they pulled out of the United States a long time ago, and they have no plans on selling trucks in the United States. They got a deal going with GM, and they're going to be making smaller trucks and selling them worldwide, but not in the United States. It's too competitive here, and they know the rest of the world is really happy with some tiny little trucks and vehicles. Go to Singapore, places in Asia, they're driving little bitty vehicles. Here, everybody wants big ones, like this Tundra. I wouldn't advise buying any of Zuzu pickup trucks, because they can be a royal pain in the butt to find parts for. And when you're looking at a good used truck, don't expect perfection. Don't expect it to look like this new Tundra with these unbelievable leather seats and a beautiful interior and gigantic room in the back if it's a crew cab and a clean bed. It's going to look more like this, but if it still runs, it can be a great work truck. You can always get covers for the bench seat, or if it's got a gigantic hole in the driver's seat, get a piece of foam, stick it in there, then put a cover on top of that. Or go to a junkyard, see if you can find a bench seat. They just bolt on and off with 4 bolts, take it out, throw it out, put it in and bolt it in. And if you're not sure if something fits, drive the truck to the junkyard and say, what do you got that fits this? And then put it in there to make sure it fits. There's always things you can do with old pickup trucks. A lot of them out there. A lot of junkyard parts you can mess around with if you have to. That's a big reason, I tell you, check in your area. What's popular, what people work on, what you can get parts for. So if you wreck it, if you need a hood, maybe you got one that's bashed in and you're going to change the fenders. Find ones that are easy and cheap to get parts for and go for it. You want to make sure the engine and the transmission works good, and when you go down the road, the steering wheel isn't shaking all over the place and the track's good. Past that, if it's a good solid work truck and it's cheap enough, buy it. Realize these days, especially in the United States, you're not going to get a good cheap new one. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.